Hi everyone. As we head into winter, and hopefully, at least on my part, not another shutdown, I need to talk about something I've been struggling with, something that's been weighing on my mind for quite a while. I need you to please bear with me as I have never done anything like this before and I'm honestly shaking. I'm a photographer. I'm used to being on the other side of the camera. But this is important enough that it needs to have me sit in front of it. I've been going back and forth for a while now, wondering if I should even post this. And I know that it's going to make some people uncomfortable. And I'm sure that there's more than a few people betting on my silence, or at least that were. You know, I woke up this morning realizing that sometimes an issue is way bigger than you. And even though it goes against everything in you, you have to speak. On Christmas Day, I sat at my dining room table reading my divorce document. Every part of me wanting this to be over, but still feeling the grief of the moment. This has been 3 very long years, and I'm exhausted. The problem was that for 3 years, I have been manipulated, I have been lied to, I have been humiliated, and I've even been threatened on so many occasions by the Orange County Supreme Court of New York. So how can I trust this document that was sitting in front of me when I couldn't even trust the court? I'm the one who asked for the divorce on the grounds of domestic abuse. At least that's what I thought. What I'd like to talk to you today about is the court system and how they treat domestic abuse victims. A week ago, after learning that the document went to the judge, yet again, without my knowledge, I went to the courthouse to fill out the forms to speak to the judge, the third judge on my case. After asking for the forms, I was told I would not be allowed to speak again. Sorry, I'm nervous. I was upset about this, and I told the clerk that I did have a right to speak and I wanted the form. And then she said to me, "You need to get a hold of yourself. You need to go home now. They don't want to hear you. You're banging your head against a wall that is never going to move. So please, just go home and count yourself lucky that you survived." When she saw that tears were coming, she said, "Listen, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to help you. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. Just learn the lesson and move on." And she walked away. I left the courthouse, and the minute I got into my car, I started to scream as loud as I could. And then I cried all the way home. You see, in 2018, I was assaulted. It wasn't the first time, but it was the worst time. The assault was so severe that the muscle in my arm was torn, in this arm. A few days later, I contacted an attorney, and under his advice, I went to the courthouse to speak to an advocate and to apply for an order of protection. That night, my husband of 17 years was removed from my home. The home he destroyed and used to control me. I sat right here in this spot as the police officer walked him out, knowing that this was it, knowing that he would never be able to hurt me again. I no longer felt sorry for him and his pain or his refusal to get help in dealing with his anger issues. Now, I'm not telling you what to believe or who to believe. That's not what this is about. I am not a perfect person. I have never claimed to be. But I need to be clear on one thing. Nothing that was done to me was asked for. And nothing that was done to me was allowed. Those were his choices, not mine. Boy. I have been asked many times over the last 3 years why I stayed with him so long. Why I came back the first time he hit me in 2006 for calling him out on an affair. At that time, I left him for 8 months and I lived with his family. All I can say is that I love this man with all my heart, and when he called and told me he was getting help for his anger, I came home. I knew it would be tough, but after 10 years of marriage, I thought that together we could save our marriage. It's as simple as that. I won't make excuses for him, but for me, I am a person of faith. I'm a person that believes you marry once and you marry for life. I stayed faithful. My husband never did. So I fought for my marriage in any way that I could, and I make no apologies for that. After 17 and a half years together, I thought we were worth the fight. I always knew I loved him more, but after years of affairs and years of abuse, I gave him an ultimatum, and that was to get help for his abuse and to go to marital counseling. He went to marital counseling, but he fought back in a physical way behind closed doors. But you know, I have to be honest. I realized recently in therapy that I never forgave him for that first affair or the many that followed. I trusted him, and he broke my heart. So after I got the order of protection, I naively thought that I could breathe, at least, even if just for a moment. Instead, I was forced to negotiate face to face with the man that chose to assault me, the man that tore the muscle in my arm, the man that chose to hit me so hard that he cracked one of my teeth while I was sleeping one morning, and I had to have it removed. I was afraid, and I couldn't do it, and I said so, but I was told I had no choice because the judge demanded it, the first judge of 3 on my case. To say that I was terrified is an understatement. Most of the time, I was too afraid to speak. I barely knew what was going on, and every time I asked, I was told it would be explained to me later. We are 3 years in, and later has never come. The only narrative that I have been told by the courts is that the court will not allow it, and the judge will not allow it. In July 2019, I was told that I had to appear in court, even though less than a week before I had had the surgery on my torn bicep. I was told that it didn't matter that I had the surgery, and that if I did not show up for court, there would be severe consequences from the judge. So against medical advice, I went with my arm literally strapped to my chest on painkillers with my daughter-in-law. And what happened next still gives me nightmares. My abuser saw me coming and in an alcohol-infused rage, and I say that because you could smell it down the hall. He climbed on the bench, not 30 feet from the courtroom, and he started yelling, "Wow, look at the bullshit piling up out here. I dare you. Call me an abuser. I dare you." I was terrified. His attorney took his arm and pulled him down and told him to get control of himself, but nothing else was done. No one else came to help. I pleaded for this to be brought to the judge's attention, but it was denied. I was told that the court would not allow it. The judge would not allow it. So what was the order of protection for? I wasn't even safe 30 feet from the courtroom, and my abuser was allowed to threaten me. When the order of protection was about to run out a year later, I pleaded to have it extended. I pleaded for motions to be filed. At first, I was outright ignored, and even after a year of having been threatened, harassed, and followed, I filed police reports. And to be honest, even that didn't go so well. My neighbors started watching my house at night just so I could sleep. Now, I believe that there are a lot of good officers in this town. I know a few of them. But when a victim with an order of protection comes into a police station and is told to go home and come back when something real happens, what am I supposed to do with that? All I have to say to you is, would you tell your mother, your daughter, your sister that? I have begged over and over through the court system to be heard, and I have been denied my right to speak. Always with the same excuses. Again, the court will not allow it. The judge will not allow it. After not being heard in July, I went to the clerk's office and I demanded to speak to the judge. And then something even worse happened. The day I was able to speak to the judge, I quietly waited my turn. As the attorney told the judge that I had requested to speak, she asked me what I had to say. I slowly started speaking, and I was immediately cut off by the court officer, who stepped forward and said, no emotional outbursts. I looked around confused. I had no idea who he was talking to because I hadn't even spoken yet. So I tried again. And the court officer again said, I'm not going to warn you. Again, no emotional outbursts. So I stopped talking. By then the judge was staring at me, and she said, well, what do you have to say? I cautiously started speaking, and I got a few sentences out, and she stopped me and she said, I don't care. I don't care what you have to say. Stop talking. So I did. That moment taught me that I was completely alone, that no one in the Supreme Court would advocate for me, that no one was on my side. But still, I kept trying. A few months later, COVID hit. And during that time, we've gone through 2 judges, but still, no change in how I was treated. Well, not really. Since I was not being advocated for through the court, I took matters into my own hands and I started doing research. I spent a lot of time on Google, and I called literally 39 lawyers to ask how domestic abuse cases were supposed to be handled because I felt like something was wrong. I tried to find what I was missing. but no one would speak of it. And since I had been informed due to COVID that I would not in any way be allowed to switch counsel, I felt completely stuck. I did, however, get a printout from the court that stated, on the day I spoke to the judge, the one who told me that she didn't care what I had to say, I was informed that that day was noted as a trial. I asked the clerk what that meant, and I was told that the clerk's office was notified that there was a full trial on that day with me. I asked her why I was not included in the trial, and I was told, "How could you not have been? You're the plaintiff." She said, "I'm sure you remember being sworn in and asked questions by both your counsel, your husband's counsel, and the judge." I told her that I had been brought into the attorney's office on numerous occasions for trial prep, as my attorney called it, but a trial never took place. Every time I came to court, I was told to bring every piece of evidence, every document, every photo, every police report, every piece of proof. But a trial never happened. A trial was never even mentioned that I remember. Let me say that again. A trial never happened. On August 12th of 2020, after pleading with the clerk's office yet again to speak to the third judge on my case, I was finally allowed. Now I want you to picture something. After 2 years of not being heard at all by the court, of being shuffled from office to office, of being told on a consistent basis that the court will not allow it, the judge will not allow it, you're finally able to speak. And you get ready to read a victim statement that had taken you months to prepare. And just as you start to read it, the judge says, "Ma'am, hold on a second. What is this you're reading?" You tell him it's your victim statement. And the judge says to you, "I'm confused as to why you're reading a victim statement, as your case was never filed as a domestic abuse case. It was filed as a no-fault divorce case." Everything came flooding back to me at that moment. The realization that I had been manipulated in such a way, and there was nothing more that I could do about it. So I stopped. I stopped talking, but it wasn't over yet. The judge then said to me, "Ma'am, if you feel that something has not been done correctly, you can overturn your divorce. But let me be clear. If you decide to overturn your divorce, everything will stop from this moment on, and the case will have to be refiled." He then said, to my horror, "If you choose to overturn your case, your husband will be allowed to move back home." Now, in that one statement from the judge, I had been told that everything I had been led to believe was a lie. Anything possible was told to me to silence me. Now, I'm truly grateful to this one judge for being honest with me, for opening my eyes, for being the only person to tell the truth in 3 years. But to tell a victim of domestic abuse that if they decide to overturn a case that they thought was filed as a domestic abuse case, that the man that physically abused them and assaulted them in such a way that they needed 2 very painful surgeries and very painful recoveries, to tell them that this man would be able to move right back into their home? Who in their right mind would say yes to that? And I have another question. My question for the Supreme Court, if I am ever allowed to speak on this. If my divorce case was filed as a no-fault divorce case, as the judge stated, why has a clause that states, once the judge signs the final document, that I, as the victim, am agreeing to never speak about the abuse to anyone? Why is that in there? This has been slipped into my divorce decree on numerous occasions and drummed into my head by counsel. Sorry. Whew. Take a breath. Recently, I was told that this is legal. Barely legal, but legal nonetheless. It's a way of handling the victim in a way that just enough law is used to lead the victim along. And of course, since it will cause confusion and fear, the victim is made to look crazy. Something that can be used later to absolve the lawyers and the courts of any wrongdoing. Wow. Lastly, I want to show you the extent that the court will go to make sure that a victim of domestic abuse is made so uncomfortable and is made to stay silent, because I was made to live in such a way that I was beyond uncomfortable. I will do anything to have this nightmare over. But I'm going to take you on a quick tour of my home. The home my abuser destroyed and used as an excuse to control me. The home that even after he left, I was ashamed to invite people into. The home that I was told I needed to pay him for because the court would allow no less. And I'm willing to do that. I asked for my home. I was told from day one, and on many occasions since, that although it was agreed upon at the beginning of our divorce that I could have my home and pay him for it, that I was not allowed to alter, repair, or fix, or even insure my home until the last document was signed by the judge. That was 3 years ago, and the court has the pictures of my home. And I hope you're still with me, and I hope you can come along in this really quick journey, because I need to show you why this is important. And as I said before, I have had to suffer through 2 very painful surgeries and recoveries caused by my abuser while living in these conditions. And winter has just hit us again. And to be honest, it might snow tonight, and it's already cold in here. So let's get started. So I'm going to zoom out so you can see. This here is my kitchen. As you can see, there's some insulation hanging. I have water damage. Every time it rains, it comes down into the pot right here. This is where I hang my coat, literally, but this is where most of the air comes in from the roof, because apparently it's not completely sealed up there, but air comes through my back door as well. This here is my dining room. As you can see, it's my art studio right now. My dining room table that was given to me by a friend. My ceilings, as you can see, all the way through, that I'm not allowed to do anything to. I do have some insulation, but as you can tell up there, And in a lot of places, I don't have any insulation in my home. Also, this morning it was 19 degrees out, and I need you to have a huge picture of this because this is how I've lived for 3 years. I put art pieces on my wall to cover some holes that are there. So I'm going to also now take you outside. We're going to do this part quick because it is very cold out there. Whew, burr. Okay, so this is my home. It needs a lot of work, as you can tell. It's been like this since 2006 when my abuser tore it apart. Here, the only thing that I actually had done on the house, and I don't care whether the court agrees or not, these little metal pieces where he had taken down all of the shingles before he left. And I've had birds and squirrels living in my home over this past summer. One of them actually burrowed into my art studio on the second floor, and I had to have it repaired and closed up. We're going to the back of the house now, where this here is my back porch, which is literally falling off of the house, but I'm told I'm not allowed to do anything to repair it. And I have been told this so many times. I can't even walk on it because it leans down. So quickly to the last side of my house. This is the last side here. This is my side porch, which, as you can see, is rotted and falling off of the house as well. We're gonna go run inside now because honestly it's kind of cold. And I'm gonna take you to one last place that I honestly love. And then we're gonna come back to these steps. This is my stairs going up, my temporary railing so I wouldn't fall down the stairs. That's the fan that blows all the air downstairs. I'm not going to show you the other way because that's my bedroom, my personal space. This here is my studio. This is where I spend a lot of my time because it's semi-warm. This here is my mannequin Nash. She has taken the brunt of my paintbrush through the years. She's been washed and scrubbed down and repainted so many times. I feel sorry for her. Excuse her undress. And this here is my punching bag. It's my fucker fuck you bag. Excuse my French for those of you that have an issue with cursing. But it's a soft enough punching bag that I can get my aggression out every time I'm told something from the courts or followed or harassed or whatever. And these here are some of my art pieces. These women have saved my life. These women have been a part of my journey for the last 3 years. This one here was the first. It's called The Release. As you can tell, the judge affected me in such a way. But these women and these horses, I love horses, they have saved me. My physical therapist had used my art as a way of helping me heal my fingers, since the arm that was torn was my shooting arm, and I'm a photographer. And I couldn't use my fingers for a long time, so he used my art as a way of helping me heal. And boy, have I healed. And I am so incredibly grateful to him for all the help that he gave me. So I'm going to take you back downstairs now, because I'm not even sure how long this video is right now, but I don't want to hold you up from your day. I would like to read a quick statement, if you will. That's my son. I would like to read a quick statement, however, to the Orange County Supreme Court of New York State. I would like to say, I woke up this morning and it was 19 degrees. I had to put on a hat and a sweater over my clothes to go to the first floor of my home, because although the temperature was set at 65 at night, it only got up to 42. For 3 years, your court system has forced me to live like this because you told me I could not even insulate or seal my home without consequence. All I did to deserve this was follow the law and report my abuser. All I asked for was honesty and clarity, 2 things I have been denied for 3 years. No one deserves to be treated like this. All I asked for was to speak to the judge. I just wanted to be heard. But you made sure that I was not allowed. My abuser has been allowed to say and do whatever he chooses with no consequences. Yet I, the victim, am held to a higher standard and disciplined just for speaking. On multiple occasions, I was threatened within your walls. I pleaded for help time and again, and I was sent away. When I was finally allowed to speak in 2019, your own Supreme Court judge shut me down and humiliated me. You tell victims that they need to speak up, but then you punish them for doing so. But I want to thank you. Boy, I never thought I would hear myself saying that over the last 3 years. I mean it though. I do want to thank you, because if not for your negligence, your humiliation and manipulation of me, the only victim here, I would not be speaking now. You took a very private woman, or as my son told me the other day, my mom, private to the point of not defending herself. Love you, kid. You assaulted and vandalized my dignity in a very cruel way, but I will walk away with my head held high, because I survived you, because you did not break me. If anything, you made me stronger. You took this woman and you gave her a voice, and I plan on using it. To whoever has gotten this far, I know it's a little long. If you know of someone living in domestic abuse, and let's be real, we all do. We've all seen the bruises. We've all heard our neighbors fighting. All I have to say is be kind. We didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for this. These were bad choices made by my husband, not me. And to be honest, we have suffered enough in silence. And until we stop blaming and shaming the victims for the choices that their abusers make, nothing's going to change. I stayed silent for so long because of the not so nice comments and well-meaning hurtful questions from friends. If you don't know what to say, then don't say anything at all. Lastly, I have to ask this because I really need some help. If anyone knows of an attorney that can give me some clarity and honesty in my divorce, or in my divorce document, I should say, I could really use the help before it gets signed in 2 weeks from now by the judge. I don't have much. The courts have made sure of that. But I can trade for a piece of art. I can work in your office to cover the cost. I just need some help. So that's it for me. This will probably be the last time you ever see me on video because, like I said, I don't do these kind of things. And to be honest, life is patiently waiting for me and has been for a long time. And so have my paintings. So thank you. I appreciate you listening. And if you know of anyone that this could help, please share this, because we need to start having these conversations. They're important. And I don't want to see another woman, another child, or even another man go through what I went through with this system. Thanks for listening, I guess. And have a great day.